Walsh is on the line. How you doing?
Yeah, good evening, Joe.
So listen, we were just talking there in the newsroom, by the way. People were bemoaning the lack of atmosphere at the rugby on Saturday at the Aviva Stadium, and we were sort of making the point, we don't have many songs. After the Fields of Athenry, that's kind of our arsenal done with. Do the Kilkenny fans have a go-to number during games?
I don't think hurling's too fast, Joe, really, to start singing songs. You have to wait till you become champions to do that. But I'd say if you were to go back over any of the songs, I'd say Limerick would probably stole the show there with the last few All-Irelands and the songs we've belted out there for about 10 minutes after. So no, I think the game is too fast, Joe, for Kilkenny to come up with a song, really, yeah.
That's true, actually. There'd be about 15 scores if you were to blast out the Fields of Athenry. So we've a whole bunch of things we want to talk to you about. Richie Power, very interesting interview this week on the BBC's GAA Social podcast. Teammate of yours, 8 All-Ireland medals, 2-time All-Star. So he was talking, for people who didn't see the interview, just to give you some context, he was talking about his gambling addiction. So he said in the interview, it started at a relatively young age, probably around 17, 18, and it would have been very small at the beginning. And then I suppose it just took hold of me, really. It grabbed a hold of me and it affected so many other people as well. It affected me throughout my sporting career. I just felt, being an inter-county player, you have so much free time, weekends, wasn't out socialising, you're trying to maybe fill the void. I would have used gambling as a huge escape. It was escapism for me, away from hurling, away from other problems that were going on in my life. Injuries, for example, I would have seen anytime I broke down injured, I would spiral that way. You're trying to manifest a life that's perfect and great, whereas at the back of your mind, it was complete turmoil, fighting with it, knowing that I was struggling with an addiction, but not being strong enough to ask for help or go home and sit down with my parents and family and not being man enough to do that. And then he was talking about how he did start to reach out for help. Things seemed to come to a head for him around 2013. He was having a dip in form and he had a meeting with Brian Cody. And Cody had a sense of issues off the field and said to him, you need to get this sorted out, or it's in your hands if you want to almost salvage your inter-county career. So what he said about that was, Brian was aware. I wouldn't say he was aware of just how bad things were aware, but he was aware of my gambling. That kind of led me to everything coming out at home with my mum and dad and my brother and my sister. Everything was put on the table. GPA were a huge help. I remember me and my dad driving up to Carrickdale Hotel to sit down with Oisin McConville for a few hours to talk, and that was the start of the road to recovery. And obviously he went on to play in All-Ireland finals in 14 and 15 as well, and retired with 8 All-Irelands and 2 All-Stars. So, Tommy, I'm wondering, management, it seems there, were aware that there were problems for Richie off the field to some extent or other, maybe not the full extent. Were you as a teammate aware that there was an issue?
I suppose, listen, the back of my mind, I would have been very close to Richie. We came from probably similar backgrounds in that our parents were steeped in the club, steeped in the county. Hurling was their lives. So myself and Richie would have hit it off straight away, and we had a great friendship throughout his whole career, throughout my whole career. Now the whole group, anyway, as I said, every player as a group, we were close knit anyway. But he definitely would have been one of my go-to guys. I think it'd be roughly the same, I'd say, idea as what the way he explained it with Brian Cody. I probably knew that he was gambling all right, but it's a hard one. Like, you don't want to be nosy and start trying to get involved in someone's life either, because like everyone knows the story of it. An alcoholic, a gambler, a drug addict. These guys they can't really stop. Now listen, I don't know, but say looking in from the outside with not too much inside knowledge of these lives, I would say it seems when they do come out telling their stories, they have to decide it first. Like you telling them or trying to get involved, I'm not sure how much that would help, but yeah, I probably knew that listen, he was gambling, but I probably didn't ask enough questions really to see was there an issue there. But I probably, if I had my time back, I probably wouldn't either. Like, I think it's something maybe that they probably have to find out for themselves. Maybe I don't know, Joe. But yeah, I knew he was involved in it. But so are many people, I suppose.
Yes. And that's the thing. I mean, we all have friends or people in our world who'll be telling you, oh, geez, I had a bet on there and I lost the bet, or I have a bet on this and hopefully that wins tonight. And sometimes you don't know where the line is in terms of being a quote-unquote healthy relationship with gambling and an unhealthy relationship with gambling. And would you have looked at Richie and thought, oh, I think this has crossed a line, or a sense that he was in turmoil, to use his word.
Yeah, like say I wouldn't have been surprised when the story came out the other day, but at the same time, I didn't go and try and find out, to be honest about it, Joe. I just, I don't know whether it's the right thing or wrong thing. You try not to get too involved in people's personal lives that way, because, at the end of the day, we were great friends. Like, maybe you should, but my side on it, no. And as I said, if I had any time back, no. He still seemed like he never seemed under too much pressure. Like, he was a great guy. Like, behind it all, Richie Power and his father and mother, they're great people, very genuine people, country people. Like, and what is he never asked me for money or anything like that. So I'm not sure what the story is with issues that way. Like, but no, I don't know how bad it was, but he obviously, with the story that has come out from himself, it obviously was bad if he had to go and meet his parents and go up to Carrickdale to meet Oisin McConville. But I think he mentioned the GPA there as well. I mentioned Brian Cody. So it does go to show that it is very important for people to step in and try and help out if they can. And I'd say, that was a big statement. If Brian Cody was trying to sort it out, Richie would want to be there. He came back, and as you said, in 14-15, but he was instrumental. In 14, he had big injuries. But himself and his brother, John Power, it was a massive day for their parish and family. The All-Ireland final against Tipperary, they scored a goal apiece, and they were, fantastic players. But yeah, listen, I think on the wider scale in Ireland, Joe, it is a big issue. I'd say we all know people, not just him. So the GPA, I think, often people, what do the GPA do? Well, he has mentioned there's one life that they're after helping out, and if you help out one, isn't it one more than was helped out before the reform? So I think that shows the benefits of the GPA, and maybe the likes of Oisin McConville role models in the game. But it's definitely something that I'd say if the GA and GPA did try and get involved maybe more frequently in county panels, that listen, here's a guy that you can talk to, maybe a few gamblers, because with an alcoholic, I suppose you can probably see it. Drug addicts may be the same, but gambler probably not. Like, a lad could be down 100 or 200 grand, no one knows anything about it, and then it's tough going, So I'd say it would be a great idea maybe to get ex-gamblers that would like to help out as kind of go-to guys for lads that are in trouble,
Yeah, well, it's to his immense credit that he's spoken out, because he didn't need to. And generally with these things, there's often a spike in onlookers with similar problems looking for help themselves and making the first step themselves. So I suspect he's helped a lot of people in doing it. Did you reach out to him yourself over the last few days since you heard of the interview?
No, I just send him a text, just a private text there, really, to be honest. But yeah, I know Richie, listen, he saw it to the earth. He's one of the good guys. So I'm delighted that, since 2013, as he said himself, he'll always be a gambler. So I presume it's a battle ongoing. So he just absolutely delighted for him that he has turned it around,
Yeah, absolutely. We wish him well. Let's talk hurling then before the clock comes against us. Much of the talk over the last few days was about where the league stands as a competition in hurling. So in football, the importance of the league has increased with each passing year, and it's incorporated into the championship now. And even the final round coming, I think all bar 8 teams in the football have something very significant to play for, whereas the last round of the hurling seemed to be a little lacking in drama. This really is how hurling has chosen to go, though, Tommy, isn't it? Because 2012 to 19, we had Division 1A and 1B, and it was very much merit-based, and it was a real fight to stay in Division 1A, and it was very important you stayed in Division 1A. And now, for the last couple of years, it's the best teams spread across both divisions. Relegation really isn't the end of the world, and therefore we're having dead rubber games, and it does feel very much a secondary competition to the championship, and that seems to be the way hurling folk want it. Is that your read on where the league is, or are you a little bit disappointed looking on last few weeks?
No, you hit the nail on the head. I think since the championship turned to the round-robin type format, Joe, there's plenty of intense championship games. So you have 4 or 5 intense championship games anyway, whether they're in Munster or Leinster. So the weaker counties, they always, when they're giving interviews to the papers, on television, to the media, they want to play against the Corks, the Kilkennys, the Tipperaries. So the league is a perfect chance, I think, for that to happen. And now it's happening. We were talking about dead rubbers, right? There is dead rubbers, but it gives county managers chances then, say, if you're on the stronger teams, give your panel members a game. So they're not just training all year round and just being bit par players. They're getting good matches during the league, and then they're getting their chance under, I suppose, in games that there's not as much pressure on them. So they can, softly get into the game. So I think it's brilliant, both for the weaker counties and the stronger counties. And regards winning the league, then, I think it's still so important, because there's only, as you said, there's only really 3 championships. There's your league, your Munster or Leinster, your provincial, we'll say, and then your All Ireland. And if you look at the 4 league semi-finals, Kilkenny, even the current Kilkenny panel haven't won too much over the last couple of years. A couple of Leinsters maybe and a league. The Munster, the Cork boys, they've only won 1 or 2 Munsters. A lot of that panel. Wexford have won a Leinster championship, and Waterford, they've won none of them. So, if it was me and I'm part of either of them panels, I'd be going all out for this league, because they haven't won it the last couple of years, the league, and they still didn't win the All Ireland. So if I'm part of the management team or the squad in that, I'd be doing everything I can to try and get a league medal or to get to a league final.
Would you? Yeah, because it was interesting. John Kiley, even back in December, he was pointing out that the league final is very close to the first round of the championship, and he said that's something a lot of teams are cognizant of. So I think we're talking maybe a 2-week gap. So I'm half looking at Cork against Kilkenny. That's on the Saturday, Porky Queeve, 7:15, and Wexford against Waterford on the Sunday at Nolan Park. They're the 2 semi-finals. I mean, you got to wonder if all 4 management teams do want to be in a league final 2 weeks out from championship.
Yeah, well, you mentioned John Kiley, but that's grand because they have a bag full of medals in their back pocket. So they don't have to go all out for the league. Well, I looked at the last 20 years of the league there, Joe, right? And 18 out of the 20 years, say, I didn't take into account last year because the league final wasn't really played.
Yeah.
So 18 out of the 20 years, one of the league finalists has made the All-Ireland semi-final. If we take the All-Ireland semi-final as the kind of standard, if you get to the semi-final, you've had a good year. Not the perfect year, but a good year. 15 out of the 20 times, the league champions have made the All-Ireland semi-final. 11 out of the 20 times, the losing finalist has made the semi-final. And 11 times, one of the finalists become champions. So there's no problems getting to these finals. And I think it goes back to teams, players that are maybe a bit insecure. They're not ruthless enough. It comes to managers or teams that they're a little bit, they're lacking a bit of courage. I'd see it as guys that look at the glass half empty as opposed to half full. Oh, listen, we better not try and win the league final. It might damage our chances in the championship. How many league finals have you won? And how many championships have you won? So I think you should, any match you go, whether it's a league final, a league semi-final, a quarter-final, you should never try and, go out and try and save yourself for a championship. And I'll give you one example as well from the new, say, over in the Super Bowl, in New York. It was the Giants, I think. And they were in the last round of their regular season a couple of years back. And it was the time, I think it was Tom Collin was over them that time around, maybe 2011. And they were playing the last game, and they didn't have to win. They were qualified anyway. And would they rest all their players? Because over there, then you're playing the week after, 2 weeks later. Do you rest all your players, the New York Giants, and save yourself for the eliminator the following week, or do you play and try and win again? And Tom Collins said, I can't, after telling my guys all for 6 months that everything is about winning, every training session, every match. How do I go out then and just before we say the championship and telling them, take it easy here, lads, we want to relax and save us. So you either have a winning attitude or you don't. And I'd be all for, you go out, whether it's a league final, challenge match, semi-final, next weekend is all about winning.
Yeah, hard to argue with you. So like I said, Cork Kilkenny 7:15, Porky Queeve, and then Wexford Waterford's on the Sunday at 3:45. Cork looking for a first league title since 1998. This is a repeat of the All-Ireland semi-final. Kilkenny at times struggled a bit with Cork's pace and power, so there's going to be a lot here to look out for. This is a very interesting game, and it's in Porky Queeve, of course, as well. How do you see it, Tom?
In Porky Queeve, big pitch. It'll be like a summer field. I often found in Croke Park, it didn't matter whether you were playing in April or playing in September or June, the field was always magnificent. There was never much of a wind either. I presume Porky Queeve, the new pitch, is much the same. While they both played not so long ago in the All-Ireland semi-final, Joe, a lot has changed. Kilkenny are now using the ball far, far better. They have speedsters inside in their full back line. Mikey Butler, he was on the O'Loughlin's team that got to the county final. He was on Desi Hutchison last weekend. I was watching him from behind the goal. I didn't realise he was as pacey. He's a man marker and he's fierce pacey. So he's a huge addition to the Kilkenny team inside. Hugh Lawler is just going from strength to strength. Centre back with his club, full back now with Kilkenny. You could play him anywhere. Big, huge guy, but plenty of pace. The other corner is from our own club, Tommy Walsh from the Village, and fierce pace. First thing he has is pace. So this Kilkenny team has pace. But when they get the ball now, Joe, they're not just firing it up. They look up. If there's, like the Limerick team, if there's no spare guy, will say that he can give a 60-40 ball to, they will not give it. And I thought we saw a perfect example of it last weekend against Waterford. Power got the ball at centre forward. He hit the ball across to David Blanchfield, who was all on his own, a wing back. He came up on his own, gave it into Killian Buckley, goal. I just thought beforehand you would have just fired that ball up or fired it over the bar. Here was guys playing the ball laterally, playing it backwards, and not just for the sake of it. Looked good doing it. And then you have Cork then on the opposite side of that, Joe, playing a bit more defensively. Jared Mellor has added a lot to that team. He was injured for the All-Ireland final last year. He's back around the back line, shoring it up. They're playing more zonal. Cork are playing more zonal now, Joe, and they've Darrell Leary in full back. So listen, I think the styles have changed dramatically for both teams, and really I think there's fierce excitement in both sets of supporters.
Yeah, it should be a great game. So that's on the Saturday night. And then finally we have Wexford Waterford, Nolan Park on the Sunday. Wexford 5 for 5 under Dara Egan. And no league since 1973 for them. Two sides who run the ball short, passing, possession-based game. How do you see this then? We talked about Waterford the other week and you were very impressed. Are Wexford under Egan a vastly different proposition to the Davy Fitzgerald version?
Yeah, I would think so. I think both Waterford and Wexford have probably come on from Davy Fitz, we'll say, and Derek McGrath from a mostly, defensive system first and then attack with the ball. This is more of a hybrid, Joe. So they're well able to come out with the ball, but they're also able to play the other game where they've Conor MacDonald will say Wexford one-on-one inside, give the ball, Rory O'Connor maybe inside with him. Two boys that would make any team in the country. Get the ball into them. They want to be one-on-one. Get the ball around their man, goal, point. Same with Waterford, they've Desi inside. And you just want to open it up towards in previous systems. He would be marking maybe an extra defender or two. Now they're trying to get them in one-on-one. So I think they've definitely, their game is more hybrid than the mostly defensive system. And I think that's what's given them a chance to go on and become All-Ireland final contenders. And I think out of the four teams, these two needed the most. And I think especially Waterford. Wexford have won their Leinster Championship, these current group. Waterford are still waiting for that first title, and with titles comes confidence. So I think these two, will be going at it the hardest.
Okay, very good. Very last quick one. Last time we spoke, we were talking about the hand passing rule, which was being enforced. Did I hear rightly you're seeing some improvements on that front from the players?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a more focus on them to throw up the ball and let the referee see some space. It was at the Kilkenny Waterford match. I think there was only one or two frees against the hand passer. But as a supporter looking at the game, there wasn't, for the last year or two, you could see people actually throwing the ball. I couldn't see it the other day. They were making a genuine attempt to do it. I think it's definitely after, helping the game, and it's a skill of the game, and it's great for supporters to see it.
Okay, very good. We're just out of time, Tommy, but great to talk to you. We'll chat again soon. Tommy Walsh, thank you.
Thanks a million. See you later, Joe.
Off the ball on News Talk.
When it comes to separating life from work, social media thinks you teleport to a desert island. But at IKEA, we think you can simply turn your laptop stand